Hello viewers and welcome to another match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest. My name is Mitch and I am the Hive Tyrant. Today we have a game sent in by the Guardians of Tyr, an event organizer based in Milton Keynes and Northampton in England. The fellow to the left playing on the gorgeous Traxxas Sector Warcast playmat is Barrie Wardle, and for today's game he's playing as Ku'gath Plaguefather. On the right resides Sam Kerslake, instead piloting Nazdreg. Our orcs start with initiative, and Planet 1 is Planum, which, upon winning a battle at that planet, you can move a non-warlord unit you control to any other planet you'd like. Our first deploy action is for Nazdreg to add a copy of the 1-cost support Ork Cannon to his HQ. As a combat action, you can exhaust it, pick a planet, and then both you and your opponent are each required to assign 1 point of indirect damage among all units you control at that targeted location. Nazdreg lays down a second Ork Cannon, and then, on Ku'gath's side of the table, we're resolving a 0-cost Chaos event, Promise of Glory. Barrie adds a pair of Cultist tokens to his HQ. Those are 1/1 Cultist trait units that, whenever you deploy a demon, you can sacrifice one or both of them in order to decrease its requisite resource cost by 1 or 2 depending. Ku'gath adds a 1-cost support of his own to his HQ. It is the Corrupted Teleportarium. As an action during any phase, you can exhaust that support to move an elite trait unit you control from a blue technology planet to any other planet you'd like. Nazdreg adds yet another support to his own HQ. It's the 2-cost signature support, Cracktooth Hall. You move a damage token from any of your units to an enemy unit at the same planet, and it has no token or warlord restriction. It's a significant card, and speaking of significant cards, at planet number 1, thanks in part to those cultist tokens, we see an 8-cost Black Legion Helldrake. 3 command icons, 8 attack, 8 hit points, the flying keyword, and I can only imagine that Nazdreg is going to be very disincentivized from sending his warlord to that same planet, and to add insult to injury, it just so happens to be Planum as well. So, both of our players are deciding where exactly they want to send their respective warlords. At planet number 3, we've got a copy of the 2-cost 1 command icon 05 printed brutal keyword enraged orc, a common orc faction army unit. And where exactly are our players going to go? Ku'gath arrives at 4, Karnath, the wildcard planet, and Nazdreg shows up at Elwith 2, the draw one of the top 3 cards planets. So planet number 1 is going to be a card and a resource won by Ku'gath during command struggles. Planet number 2 is going to be a couple of cards for Nazdreg. Planet 3 is going to be a couple of resources for Nazdreg. Planet number 4 is going to be a card and a resource for Ku'gath Plaguefather. I can't really think of anything that the orcs can bring to bear to get rid of that Black Legion Helldrake. There's no Archon's Terror, there's no Fury of Sicarius, there's no Orc Ambush events, there's Squigify, but uncontested, you're not going to be able to do anything to get rid of that Black Legion Helldrake, and even Squigified, it's still a 1/8. So Planum is going to be captured, it's going to be added to Barrie's HQ, and as so often happens with Planum, he need not even have that copy of Corrupted Teleportarium. He not only adds a technology and strongpoint icon to his victory display, but Ku'gath is able to shift his Black Legion Helldrake immediately opposite Nazdreg. Nazdreg quite wisely decides to use his combat turn to retreat. I guess his only other option would have been to swing for 2, cut in half to 1, and then we could have seen the Helldrake shield it and proceed to bloody Nazdreg. So Nazdreg ran away, and that's going to be an opportunity here for Ku'gath to take a look at the top 3 cards of his deck, to add one of those to his hand, and then put the remaining 2 on the bottom of his deck. Both of those Ork Cannons pick Planet 2 as their combat phase target. Ku'gath is going to be forced to assign a point of indirect damage twice, and that is going to be 2 points of damage dealt to the Black Legion Helldrake. That does nicely circumvent that flying keyword, but unless maybe our Orc is allied with Chaos or something like that and has direct damage effects in his deck, flyers are just really difficult to chew through, and even though Nazdreg kind of specializes in the brutal keyword, your units have to take damage before they hit hard. If they just get outright obliterated in a single swing, they never really have an opportunity to get much in the form of, just damage output going on. Looks like Ku'gath, sitting at planet number 4, was triggering Therin with Karrnath, so that's going to be an enraged orc that was routed. Note that Taurus was an option, but the unit count for both of our players was 2, and therefore good on Barrie for showing up at Karrnath, a 1-card, 1-resource planet, with his Warlord, as opposed to Taurus, which has the same economic value, but far fewer options. And of course, double triggering Taurus was not an option, so I think Barrie made the right move there. We've gone through our first HQ phase. That's going to be 4 resources and 2 cards acquired by both of our players. Our initiative token is shortly going to be passing over to Ku'gath. And now, what exactly are we going to see? What is Nazdreg going to try to do to contest our Ku'gath player? What really sucks for Nazdreg is we could see as much as just one single solitary unit played at planet number 1. Because orcs don't really have much in the way of ambush available. If it looks like the Black Legion Helldrake plus whatever other unit is going to be able to win that planet uncontested, why not use your Corrupted Teleportarium, move your Black Legion Helldrake from planet number 1 to planet number 3, and set yourself up for a victory condition at that planet? But what is Nazdreg going to do to try to, discourage this Chaos faction onslaught or snowball? At planet 4, we've got a copy of the 1-cost Splintered Path Acolyte. It's a 1-cost, 1 command icon, 1/1 cultist trait unit. When you attempt to deploy a demon, you can sacrifice it to decrease that unit's cost by 2, and it's now opposite a signature army unit, the Nazdreg's Flash Gits, which is unfortunately outside of Barrie's earliest possible victory condition. So let us see here. The Flash Gits, for the cost of 3, are a 1 command icon 2/4. They've got a combat action where you can deal them a point of damage as a cost in order to ready them, and that is limit once per phase, but it's rather powerful, and if you can attack multiple times, it definitely helps you to chew through a flying unit more quickly. At planet number 2, looks like this is a rather interesting Ku'gath deck that Barrie is running indeed. We have an Orc allied unit. It is the Scrap Nabba, so 2 cost, 1 command icon, 1/2, and while it's sitting at a red material planet, it gains a +2 resource bonus. It's joined by a second copy, and therefore, if Ku'gath arrives at that planet, if he wins command, that is an incredible 6 resources that he can acquire to fund all manner of just horrifying Chaos faction events, like, the incredibly expensive Zinch's Firestorm, all kinds of different options. At planet number 2, we've got a copy of Bad Doc. It's a 2-cost, 1 command icon, 1/4, rather community maligned card. So long as it's damaged, it gains 3 command icons, but is it damaged? No, of course not. It's Bad Doc. It's kind of garbagey, but it is sitting alongside a very popular orc, deck inclusion. It is the Snakebite Thug. For the cost of 2, it's got a command icon. It's a 3/4. As a forced reaction, after resolving its attack, you're forced to deal it a point of damage, but it's not a cost. It is therefore shieldable. And now, where exactly are our respective warlords going to be going? Nazdreg and Ku'gath have no units cramping their style. Okay, I'm a little bit surprised, I guess, that Ku'gath didn't arrive at planet number 2, just because I'd have been very much wanting to acquire, those resource tokens. But if Nazdreg would have shown up, the Snakebite Thug, that could have posed a big problem. And I guess let's see. Nazdreg and Ku'gath are both at planet number 3. Planet number 1 is going to be a couple of cards for Ku'gath. Planet number 2 is going to be nothing. Planet 3 is also a stalemate. Planet number 4 is going to be a stalemate as well. Looks like Barrie is considering actually giving up the winning Eluith just to be able to relocate his Black Legion Helldrake. I guess if he does, he's got initiative. He could move the Helldrake to planet number 3. He could potentially get a swing in and bloody Nazdreg if our Orc player doesn't have a 2 shield value card in hand. That is a bit of a gamble, but it's entirely possible it might pay off. All the same, I'm not sure how I would feel about doing that. Nazdreg only swings for 2. Ku'gath is a 1/7, but as a reaction, he can move a point of damage off of him and onto the enemy, and especially with the assistance of shields, That could result in a hell of a lot of damage going out to Nazdreg, but it looks like Elowith is going to vanish into the ether. It's going to be captured by neither player. That Black Legion Helldrake, courtesy of the corrupted Teleportarium, is indeed going to be relocating the Black Legion Helldrake to planet number 3. Both Orc cannons fire. That indirect damage, 1 point, is going to go on to Ku'gath, who always loves having 1 point of damage on him, and another point of damage is going to be going on to the Black Legion Helldrake. Cracktooth Hall is going to shift a point of damage from Nazdreg to the Black Legion Helldrake. And what exactly are we going to see here? The Black Legion Helldrake swings for 5 at Ku'gath. We see Cyborg Body discarded as a shield, so that's why it's 5 and not 8. And that is going to be a total of 6 points of damage on Nazdreg, who is nearly bloodied. He had better hope to high hell that one of these, I guess the one remaining planet ends up being Iridial or something along those lines. So what exactly is Nazdreg going to do? He's got 6 points of damage. I guess the obvious answer is he's going to have to retreat from that planet. He's going to be retreating from that planet, so he is exhausted. He is retreated. Now Ku'gath is going to be able to attack that enraged orc. If he wants, he can shift a point of damage from him onto it, or he may just choose not to trigger that reaction so that in the future he can, guarantee that his warlord is going to have a point of damage. Looks like Barrie does, he does decide to use his reaction. He deals a 1 point of attack damage to the enraged orc, which does have brutal. He shifts a point of damage from it. We come to the end of a combat round. The enraged orc retreats, and therefore Ku'gath is going to be able to win that planet. Let's see. Ku'gath has got 5 units in total. Our orc player has 5 units. 5 units in total. So Taurus is not going to be a thing. It's not going to be an option. Karnath triggers Farron. Farron routs the Snakebite Thug, and that sets Ku'gath up quite nicely to potentially reel in 6 resources in total from our soon-to-be planet number 1. So both of our players are in the process of resolving yet another HQ phase. Our initiative is going to pass over to Nazdreg in just one hot second. That is 4 resources and 2 cards for each of our fine players today. Our new final planet is indeed going to be Iridial, and therefore I wonder if Nazdreg is going to end up pursuing that or not. It's definitely going to be a very interesting option for Ku'gath to try to pursue, and that Black Legion Helldrake sitting alone at planet number 2 is looking like it may readily fall victim to Orc cannons and or Cracktooth Hall, because, a 4 HP flyer is not nearly as resilient as an 8 HP flyer, and that, my dear viewers, is just simple mathematics. So, what exactly are we going to see? The initiative lies in Nazdreg's hands. All he's really got available to him is 4 resource tokens. Note that if at any point we see that Splintered Path Acolyte sacrifice, that means that Nazdreg is suddenly going to be winning command at planet number 3. We've got another copy of the Flashgits taking up residence at planet number 5, and let us assess our victory conditions here. Looks like we could see a victory as early as planet number 3 if a player were to sweep and start accumulating those red material icons, or we could see planet 3 and 4 by Barrie, and that would be victory through strong point icons. So it's looking like this might actually end up being a relatively long game, unless we see Nazdreg consumed by Black Legion Helldrakes, or perhaps reduced to ashy cinder by its, gouts of flames. It's clearly spewing on the card art. Splintered Path Acolyte is gone, and that was a nasty-ass play. Good job, Barrie. So Splintered Path Acolyte is gone, and we've got a copy of the 2-cost signature army unit, Ku'gath's Nurglings, at planet number 5. Pretty much everybody talks crap about the Nurglings. They're a 2/2 for 2 with a command icon, but as a forced reaction, whenever a unit moves to their planet, that unit is dealt a point of damage. They're currently sitting at the healing planet, and if Nazdreg moves to that location, guess who's going to take a point of damage en route? Obviously, you can just shield to prevent that damage, but I just love the fact that if Nazdreg is not lucky in regard to having a shield card in hand, the Nurglings could quite nicely cut him off from being able to heal at that planet. Do we have additional copies of Nurglings? That would make my day. Come on, Barrie, toss him out into play. I guess let's see what exactly is Barrie doing. Planet number 1 is going to be a fantastic destination for Ku'gath, and if Nazdreg decides to go for that healing planet, or if he decides to go, well, I guess he's probably not going to be able to deal with the Black Legion Helldrake, so let's say he goes for the healing planet. Even if he's able to shield that, he's going to have a hell of a time like, he's going to have to deal with the Nurglings, and he's going to be able to, but he's going to take some damage on his Nazdreg's flash gets, and like, I would imagine that Ku'gath is probably going to show up at planet number 1 just to get that mountain of resources, or maybe he's not even going to bother to. Maybe Ku'gath is going to be showing up at planet 5 just to try to prevent his opponent from being able to trigger that healing planet. There's certainly a lot of different options here. I think maybe if it were me, if I were playing Ku'gath, I'd probably send myself, I guess, to planet number 5, just because, you know, you want to prevent Nazdreg from healing, and that Black Legion Helldrake has got planet 2 covered like a Jimmy hat. So let's see. Ku'gath has picked up a copy of the Plaguefather's banner, so that is his signature support. It basically doubles his reaction, but it's an external separate card effect. Whenever Ku'gath attacks, now he can use his own reaction to shift a point of damage from him onto an enemy at the same planet, and he can trigger the banner as well to shift another point of damage from him onto an enemy, and I believe that boosts up his HP by 1, so I believe he's sitting at 8, which is just absurd. So let's see. Ku'gath arrives at planet number 1, and where is Nazdreg? Nazdreg goes to planet 2, opposite the Black Legion Helldrake, and that is going to be a hell of a thing. Nazdreg is going to have to remove himself from that planet very quickly indeed, and I guess let's see if this ends up paying off for Nazdreg or not. But at planet number 1, Ku'gath ends up getting 6 resources in total. Planet number 2, that's going to be a card and a resource to the right for Nazdreg. Planet number 3, a copy of Scrapnabba is now taking up residence there. That's going to be no cards or resources for either player, and planet number 5 is going to be an economic stalemate as well. So, we're going to see battles at planets 1 and 2. At planet number 1, a Scrapnabba deals a point of damage to the now activated or triggered bad doc, and I guess he's having PTSD flashbacks at the moment. He gains 3 command icons. He's now a 1/3. He takes a swing at the Scrapnabba, and now it's going to be more attacks here. So that's a Scrapnabba dealing out another point of damage to the bad doc. Note that planet number 1 is going to be Farron, and that might be a fantastic opportunity for our Chaos player to rout, probably that enraged Orc, and then the Chaos player can take a swing and kill the Snakebite Thug. So Ku'gath himself has also swung. That's going to be 3 points of damage on the bad doc. We're going to come to the end of combat. The bad doc wisely retreats, and that is going to be Farron routing a unit. So what are we going to see routed? Are we going... Okay, it's the Snakebite Thug. I think if it were me, I'd have left the Snakebite Thug because it's a more desirable kill target in my mind. I'd have routed the Enraged Orc. But let's see what all is going to happen here. I guess if you're worried about Squigify, like, I can't quite tell if that's a token bank on the right there for Nazdreg, or if those are all of Nazdreg's available resources. If I was worried about Squigify, reducing my Black Legion Helldrake to a 1/4, then I'd be much more likely to get rid of the Snakebite Thug. But I guess if it was Squigify, I'd be more likely to get rid of the Snakebite Thug. But I guess regardless of what happens, if your unit's Squigified, you're probably not going to be able to chew through much, even if it's just the 1 HP Nazdreg. But looks like both of those Orc cannons are firing at planet number 2. We see a Cacophonic Choir discarded as a shield, so the Black Legion Helldrake only takes a single point of damage. We have not seen Cracktooth Hall used yet. Is Nazdreg being so bold as to attack? Wow, that's Sowing Chaos discarded as a shield. His 1 point of damage is going to be prevented, and now Black Legion Helldrake, do your dirty deed. That is going to be a dead-ass Nazdreg. Nazdreg, his mega armor is going to be significantly malfunctioning after he is bloodied, so that is a bit of a headache for poor Nazdreg there. He's now just a 2/5 sent packing into his HQ. He is going to retain initiative, but God, now I guess he's just going to have to deal with that Black Legion Helldrake. So he's got an Enraged Orc that's currently got 4 points of damage. It's going to be able to attack for 4, and then that 4 is going to be cut to 2, which is shieldable. But if the Black Legion Helldrake takes 2 points of damage, and then you use Cracktooth Hall to shift a point of damage onto the Helldrake, then that is going to be game over right there. Looks looks like, Ku'gath is actually abandoning that planet. So interestingly, we've got the Corrupted Teleportarium moving the Black Legion Helldrake from planet number 2 to planet number 5. The Legion Helldrake takes a point of damage thanks to the Ku'gath's Nurglings, and that Corrupted Teleportarium, I guess, maybe it was the only thing that was keeping that Helldrake alive, and now that is going to be, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units in total for Ku'gath, 6 units for Ku'gath, and 3, 4, 5, 6 for our Orc player to the right. So unfortunately, Taurus cannot be activated, but what can be activated by Karnath, the trigger any battle ability in play planet, is going to be Barless. Looks like it's too little too late in regard to triggering Iridial, the forced random card discard, unless mine eyes deceive me, and they don't. It is a copy of the Noise Marine Zealots, a 3-cost, 2/3, 1-command icon warlord friend that of course gets +2 attack value provided a warlord is present at its same planet. We're in the process of going through another HQ phase for resources, 2 cards for either player. I always stumble on that part, if you cannot tell. And the initiative token is once again in the possession of Ku'gath Plaguefather. Ku'gath has 1 planet type icon of each kind, and his victory condition is still very much up in the air. If he wins at planet 1 and 2, that could be the game, or for Nazdreg to the right, looks like it's going to come down to he'd have to pick up 2, 3, and 4 to win through strong point planets, and that's pretty much the only option afforded to him. Nazdreg does have a bad dock and a snakebite thug in his HQ, which are significantly restricting his movement, and Ku'gath is going to be bringing with him those 2 scrap nabas, so therefore Ku'gath is going to be heavily incentivized to either show up at planet 1 or planet number 2, just to make sure that those scrap nabas arrive at material planets, and therefore do confer their +2 bonus. And I guess depending on what kind of units you can put at planet number 1, because, like, obviously, look, Barrie's got a ton of resources on his playmat there. If you can deploy a ton of units to planet number 1, then by all means, send all your dudes, send your warlord to planet number 2, and then therefore trigger all 3 of your scrap nabas, and that would be an incredible 7 resources and 1 card from the same planet. At planet number 1, we've got a copy of the Gleeful Plague Beast, as Nazdreg adds still more supports to his HQ. Gleeful Plague Beast is a Chaos faction loyal elite army unit. It's a 1-command icon 3/5. At the very beginning of the combat phase, you deal a point of damage to each and every unit at the same planet. Note that Ku'gath has got initiative. That 1 point of damage could well kill the enraged orc, and regardless, the Gleeful Plague Beast is going to be able to attack for 3 with initiative and presumably kill the enraged orc unless Nazdreg shows up at planet number 1. But owing to the presence of Rograk's Bloodhand at that planet, I think that's rather unlikely indeed. We've now got a copy of Ku'gath's Nurglings played at planet number 4, and now any unit that is moved to that planet is going to take 2 instances of 1 damage. And that is definitely going to be a big deterrent for Nazdreg to show up, because he'd take 2 damage, his Snakebite Thugs would take 2, and the same things with his bad docks. I love seeing those Nurglings played as landmines. I don't really think I've seen them used like that before, and in this scenario, it is just absolutely fantastic. So, planet number 1, Rograk's Bloodhand is a 4-cost unique. He's a 2/5 with 1 command icon. He's brutal, he's brutal, and he has the Bloodthirst specialization, so whenever a unit at his planet dies until the end of the combat round, you double his attack value. So if he's got 4 points of damage, he swings for 6. If Bloodthirst is triggered, he swings for 12, which is insane. That's even stronger than a Black Legion Helldrake. But Ku'gath has arrived at planet number 2. Nazdreg instead shows up at planet number 3. Planet number 1 is going to be a card and a resource for Ku'gath. Planet number 2 is going to be 7 resources and a card for Ku'gath. Planet number 3 is going to be 2 cards for Nazdreg, and planet number 4 is going to be a card and a resource for Ku'gath Plaguefather. So, wow, is really all I can say. Combat begins. That's going to be a point of damage dealt out to every unit present at planet number 1. There's no sense in shielding that enraged orc. Karnath is going to be triggering here, and I can only imagine that is going to be Barless doing a forced random card discard, or Iridial can trigger, and yep, there you go. That is going to be all of that damage moved from the Black Legion Helldrake, and check it out. Why don't we see Corrupted Teleportarium used to move the Black Legion Helldrake from Planet 4 to Planet 3, where Nazdreg is chilling at, because that would just be an absolute nightmare. So if Barrie knows what's good for him, come on, pull the damage off of the Helldrake and then relocate your Helldrake to planet number 3. That's what I would do, but we'll have to see what conclusion he comes to. We've got those Ork cannons that are being resolved, perhaps before Iridial goes off. That's all 3 Ork cannons firing at planet number 4. The Nazdreg's Flash Gits has taken 3 points of damage. Each of those Nurglings has taken a point of damage. And let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you assign a point of indirect damage to the Helldrake, then we could see Cracktooth Hall result in shifting a point of damage and then killing the Helldrake, and that would be bad. If you play a Helldrake, please don't let it die. Be a responsible pet owner. Neuter or spay your Black Legion Helldrake today, and just be responsible and use your Corrupted Teleportarium to move it to planet number 3, please. But we've got a copy of Ku'gath's Nurglings that are destroyed. Karnath is going to be added to the victory display of Barrie Wardle, and that means he's got 2 red icons, 2 blue icons, and he's nicely setting himself up to win the game at the following round. So I guess let's see here. He's indicating his Corrupted Teleportarium. If only I could convey telepathic signals to him saying, please move the location of your Black Legion Helldrake, but it's okay, I can't. He does have a copy of Staging Ground in his HQ. If you didn't notice, it's currently in the process of being used. That's going to be a Snakebite Thug being dropped into play at planet number 2, but presumably in vain. The Corrupted Teleportarium is now going to be used to shift the Black Legion Helldrake to planet number 3. I guess, I don't know if you want to call that the conservative play or what, but the Black Legion Helldrake would have been stranded at 3, I will admit that, and now it's sitting at his victory condition planet, so it's fine. Different strokes for different folks, Barrie. But the Black Legion Helldrake took a swing because Ku'gath has initiative. That's a very dead Snakebite Thug. Nazdreg's Flash Gits took a swing at killing one of those Scrap Nabbas. And now, what else are we going to see? Yeah, so the Flash Gits. Okay, so we come to the end of a combat round. I believe the Flash Gits had readied themselves and swung and killed another copy of Scrap Nabba. So the Black Legion Helldrake took a swing. It managed to kill the Nazdreg's Flash Gits. Elysian Assault Team is going to be dropped into play because it's a warrior trait unit. It kills the 3rd Scrap Nabba. They've done their duty. I think they accrued like a total of 10 resources among the 3 of them for as long as they were out, maybe more, maybe less, but I think 10 sounds right. The Elysian Assault Team was destroyed by Ku'gath, and now that Black Legion Helldrake is set up on Barrie Wardle's victory condition planet. We've got a battle that's about to resolve at planet number 3, and that is going to be Nazdreg doing a forced random card discard. He dropped off his Bad Doc and Snakebite Thug, unfortunately outside of his victory condition, well, outside of his opponent's earliest possible victory condition. We do have a copy of Custom Field Generator, which is the 2-cost Ork support that allows you to prevent an attack, and then you basically reassign as much damage as you would have taken from a single attack as indirect damage, and a unit can only be assigned as much indirect damage as it has remaining hit points, and that's the kind of effect that would always, well, so long as you have a single shield card in hand, it'll always allow your Warlord to survive one attack from even something so powerful as, say, Rograk's Bloodhand or the Black Legion Helldrake. But regardless, this has got to be the last round of the game here, unless Nazdreg does something fantastic. At planet number 1, we've got an infantry conscript, so we've presumably gone through our final HQ phase, 2 cards, 4 resources for each player. Nazdreg's got initiative. He lays down that infantry conscripts. 4 cost, no command icons, it's a 5 hit point unit, and it's got 0 attack, plus 2 attack for each and every support you control. Currently, Nazdreg there is sitting on a total of 6 supports, so it's got a total attack value of 12, which is going to be enough to quite handily bloody Ku'gath, but if it attacks that Black Legion Helldrake, 12 gets cut to 6, and then you can shield 2 or 3 points of damage off of that. You know, just, it's incredible how good the flying keyword can be when you've already got such a giant number of hit points. Corrupted Teleportarium cannot, of course, move a non-elite, so a little bit of a misplay there, but Barrie corrects it as soon as he does it, so good on him. I appreciate that. Planet number 1, we've got a copy of the core set, unique, loyal Chaos Faction Army Unit, Zave's Split Tongue, 3 cost, 2 command icons, 2/3. Whenever an enemy unit at his planet dies, you generate a cultist token in his HQ. It's not exactly a very useful effect at this point. There's no Ancient Keeper of Secrets or Ravenous Fleshhounds or anything like that to kind of, you know, sacrifice those cultists to do anything with, and we're probably not going to be seeing another deploy phase, not to be a complete pessimist, but I do not favor Nazdreg's odds going into this final conflict. And of course, we have a copy of the aforementioned Noise Marine Zealots at that same planet. So really all that Nazdreg can do at this point is just say a prayer to Gork and Mork. He's got to either send his warlord to planet number 1 and then run away right away, or he's not going to have initiative, and Ku'gath will arrive at planet number... Okay, I guess Ku'gath does not go to planet number 1. Interestingly, Ku'gath decides to go to planet number 3, and Nazdreg does show up at planet number 1, so he's going to have the opportunity to swing first with his infantry conscripts, and it's a lot of firepower, but I do not think it's going to be at all sufficient. So planet number 1, that's going to be a card and a resource to the right for Nazdreg. Planet number 2 is going to be a couple of cards for Nazdreg. Planet number 3 is going to be a card for Ku'gath, and because Ku'gath moved a bunch of units to planet number 3, that's going to be his Nurglings, dealing a point of damage to each and every one of his units at that planet. So what exactly are we going to see? We see during the command phase, I imagine, that is the Corrupted Teleportarium moving the Gleeful Plague Beast from planet 3 to planet number 1, and now at the onset of combat, that's going to be a point of damage to each and every present unit, including that poor Black Legion Helldrake, which, of course, the Gleeful Plague Beast's damage nicely bypasses flying. So, looks like we maybe saw a copy of Ork Cannon firing off at that planet as it was moved off of his playmat and nigh off of the screen. Yeah, that about sucks. That's going to be a point of damage dealt to the Gleeful Plague Beast, and now we've still got to see that indirect damage dealt to one of Ku'gath's well, not Ku'gath, sorry, one of Nazdreg's forces, so we did not account for that Ork Cannon, but that was a copy of Fetid Haze, stripping 4 points of damage off that Gleeful Plague Beast, and then that damage was reassigned as indirect damage among all the units that Nazdreg controls on that planet. He put a couple of points of damage on each of his units. He's firing off another Ork Cannon that should have been, you know, like that should have been a point of damage dealt on. Sorry, we've not seen a second Ork Cannon fire, but a copy of Tzeentch's Firestorm did spell disastrous defeat for the infantry conscripts. Despite that attack power of 12, they weren't really able to do anything, and now it's just going to be a lone Nazdreg with Cracktooth Hall. Well, sorry, I guess Cracktooth Hall did end up getting triggered at some point. Perhaps it has shifted damage onto something, but I don't know. It just looks like those supports are going fast and loose. Second Ork Cannon fires. That's a point of damage on Zave's Split Tongue, and I'm not seeing a point of damage put onto... There we go. So that's a point of damage on Nazdreg, and are we going to see Nazdreg suicide himself with the last Ork Cannon? No, I guess not. Nazdreg takes a swing. It's only going to be 1 point of damage dealt to the Noise Marine Zealots because of the discard of a Promise of Glory. The Black Legion Helldrake swings, and it incinerates Nazdreg in a beautiful gout of flame. So he is reduced to crackling orcish fungal cinder, and I guess there's now just no more than a pile of charred debris where the once proud Mega Knob stood. So congratulations to Barrie Wardle for managing to win with Ku'gath Plaguefather against Nazdreg, but very well played all the same by Sam Kerslake. So viewers, I hope you enjoyed today's game. A tremendous thanks to the Guardians of Tyr, that event organizer based in London, England, for sending in this footage, and of course course, just a tremendous thanks to Barrie personally each and every time he does decide to toss a video my way. So this was a hell of a game. It was awesome seeing that Chaos Elite deck, and it's always good seeing Nazdreg, especially so support heavy. That's not something you see every day, and Ku'gath is seemingly becoming an increasingly uncommon incidence nowadays, so always a treat to see him as well. But viewers, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, or if you are already subscribed, as ever, you're encouraged to share this content, because the more engagement these videos receive, the more individuals end up stumbling upon this game, they're exposed to Conquest LCG, they might give it a try, join our community, and of course, the greater we are in number, the bigger message we send to Fantasy Flight Games, telling them to continue to support this fantastic product. If at any point you'd like to get in touch with me, I would encourage you to do so through Facebook or on Twitter, and if you ever feel inclined to help support the Hive Tyrant, I would be honored and deeply appreciative were you to consider making a small monthly donation to my Patreon, as even $1 does wonders in helping me to recover my file hosting and operating expenses, and of course, each and every additional dollar all goes to be reinvested in improving the audio and video quality of this channel. So, once again, thank you so much for watching, and as always, be sure to check back in again soon for much more Conquest LCG content to come.